Welcome once again to a Daily Academy podcast. This is an NFL podcast talking about utilizing Vegas. I'm Big Italy 42. He is Scott Nailwig at Sports 25 to Life. And we're teaching you how to use Vegas in your daily research for your DFS contests and NFL. So why don't you give us the starting point? You know, what you look for first, what's most important. Give us like a quick rundown here of what you're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, the big two things that you're taking a look at when it comes to Vegas totals for NFL is the spread, which is how much a team's expected to win by, and then the total scoring of the game, which is how many points are expected to be scored by both teams combined. As far as the spread goes, that's pretty important because the game flow of an NFL game is really important. The obvious thing here is the team that's winning tends to run more and kill more clock throughout the game, especially in the second half. The team that's losing tends to throw more and try to speed up the game as much as possible to catch up. And so that gives you a decent idea of how teams are going to play when you look at the spread. Obviously, the bigger the spread, the more likely this is to actually be really useful to you, because if you're talking about a spread that's minus 14.5 or something like that, you can pretty much expect the team that's favored in that game to be winning most of the game, running a little bit more, probably scoring quite a few points. So all of the players on their team are generally in play. You're going to be looking to target the running backs a little bit more, depending on the style the team plays. The team that's losing is the team that, like I said, is going to throw more most likely. As far as like targeting the players, the scoring total is really what you want to look at. If you're looking at a scoring total where it's getting up near 50, I believe the average last year was around 44 points for a total spread. And that leaves you in a pretty good spot if you can find some games above that with maybe a big spread that you can get a really good idea of how the game flow is going to go. Because if you're looking at a team that's supposed to score 28, 31 points or something like that, and they're expected to win by 14 or something, you can expect that team to run the ball quite a bit because they're going to be up most of the game. And if it's a high spread for the lower, for the expected losing team, that's where it gets a little bit tricky, because if it's a lower scoring game, that team might not be scoring very many points at all. So they might be throwing a lot more, but they're not going to provide you a ton of value in terms of actually scoring a lot of points while they're throwing. Where if a game's expected to score 55 points or something really high like that, you can expect to get some solid plays out of both teams. One really good example we can use here of how to actually figure out what each team is projected for. We'll just use a little bit of an example game that's in the article here. Baltimore at Dallas. The spread's Dallas minus 10.5, so they're expected to be the favorite here, and we have a total of 51.5 points for the game. The easiest formula to figure out the team totals in this case is the total minus spread divided by 2, which is 51.5 minus 10.5 gives you 41, and then you divide that by 2 and you get 20.5. That's your projected points for Baltimore, who's the underdog here. You add that 10.5 spread back to Dallas for 31 projected points for them. If you look at this game, 31 projected points for Dallas is great. That means they're going to score a lot of points. They're probably going to be winning most of the game with that 10.5 point spread, so the running game is going to do really well. We saw this a ton last year with DeMarco Murray for Dallas when they were winning games. He was just racking up 25, 30 carries in a lot of these games and was a really productive player because they were winning.
Yep.
For the losing team, I mean, you're talking about a team that's projected to score between 2 touchdowns and 3 touchdowns, probably with some field goals in there. So despite the fact that their quarterback and receivers are probably going to be passing a ton, it might not be the greatest team to target because that's a pretty low scoring total to be under 3 touchdowns for the day.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And I mean, sometimes when you see totals like this, it's also because they're going up against a tough defense. So, yeah, maybe they're only projected to score 20.5 because, they're facing a top defense, like a team that plays Seattle. Obviously Seattle's always got a great defense, so you're going to have lower totals. And, that's a way you could look at the low totals in a game like that. You see a game with a total under 40, and you can pretty much just completely write that game off for the most part because you're wanting the totals that are going to have 2 to 3 more touchdowns in each game, and those are the targets you really want to have. So, all right, that's going to wrap things up for us. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll be back next time with another Daily Academy video.